I guess watching the show for the last 20 years, the thing that you seem to be so passionate about is something involving the NCAA, and there always seems to be some kind of seediness to it, and I don't think it's intentional, but that, hey, it's big. Usually, every March it'll come up about something that's going on, right?
I think that I'd be hard pressed to name anything in sports that to me seems more patently unfair than the deal that college athletes are getting. Look, I understand they're getting a scholarship. I understand they're getting access to education. But that was the same deal they were getting 40 years ago when coaches were being paid $35,000.
Right.
And, athletic departments were not raking in millions of dollars and networks weren't signing billion-dollar deals. Mm-hmm. So let me get this straight. That was the deal 40 years ago. One side of it has appreciated it 1,000, million times over, and you're supposed to be content with this one. To me, it's just patently unfair. We're going in a holiday season where all of us will take time off, and yet we can turn on the television virtually any night and watch either a bowl game, which we have proliferation of, even though there are a bunch of 5 and 7 teams playing in them, or a basketball game where those guys are not getting any time off. They'll take a college team, and the college team will play 8 games in 12 different states. Travel in 12 different states over the holidays. That to me seems usurious. You owe a kid something more than just a quote opportunity for an education. I think people would care a lot more if the athletes involved were not in the main young black men. And I think it's very hard for people to feel any degree of sympathy for them. They don't have a constituency that's willing to vouch for them. It's not going to be a politician. It's not going to be the legislative process. It's not going to be a network. It's not going to be an administrator. And so as a result, they're basically left out there without a voice, and they get used.
I agree totally. I call the NCAA the Wild Wild West. You feel like you want to shower with Brillo, just every decision they make. But that being said, how do you pay them? How do you pay a backup offensive lineman compared to a quarterback? I just don't know how you do it.
Michael, I don't know either. The only thing I would say to that is this, that, if 5 years ago we said, let's have a playoff system, we'd have all sat here and said, I just don't know how you do it. And the reality is, if you commit to doing it, you'll find a way to get it done. Mm-hmm. And it's not just, compensating them for the games. I told somebody the other day, I said, whether you're a Tim Tebow fan or not is irrelevant. But how many Tim Tebow jerseys do you think they sold while he was at the University of Florida? Truly. I mean, at $70 a pop.
Thousands.
$500,000? Yeah. Maybe? $250,000? Everybody got rich off it. How much did Tebow get off that?
Right.
I mean, does he not merit something from that? I think what it takes is a willingness to make it work, and then let's try to work through how we get it done.
It's interesting whether it's a player being taken advantage of by the NCAA or the concussion situation in football or hockey players not wearing visors. It seems like the players are either willing to make the sacrifice because the money is so big or just flat out don't care. What do you think it falls on?
I think you're absolutely right. In fact, I would have much more respect for the NFL's position if they sat there and said, look, we know it's dangerous. We're not forcing these guys. They're the ones doing it. I think what galls most of us is that they want you to believe it's their first priority when we all know it's not.
Right.
Because I agree with you. They do have, the right of first refusal on this. And, if they choose to get into it, then that's fine. That's their life. They choose to run it as they wish and take the chances. And I think we can all live with that.
I mean, there is a certain inherent danger in taking that job. That's why I'm glad that some of the older players are being taken care of. But if they knew all of these dangers, I'd say 95% of them still would have played.
You're probably right. You're probably right. And I also think there's also a statute of limitations on these things, I mean, I am very sensitive to the fact of football players saying, hey, I made this league what it was. You owe me X amount for it. On the other hand, at what point does that run out? I mean, do I have a chance to walk over to NBC and say, hey, you know what? I helped make the Today Show what it is. How about a little kickback at this point?
Let's do it. Yeah. I'll go with you. That would be great.
Yeah, there you go.
That would get some publicity.
No, I mean, I just wonder at why we draw the line in other businesses and we don't in sports.
Right. We're talking with Bryant Gumbel. 5th anniversary of Real Sports coming up on a Tuesday on HBO at 11.
Is it 11?
Let me see. I have it right here.
I thought it was 10. I could be wrong.
It is 10 to 11. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Right.
You are correct. I know that you would never say anything like this, but I looked something up when I knew you were coming in. Real Sports this week won its third Columbia University DuPont Award. That's the third in the past 10 years for excellence in broadcast journalism. That's only one fewer than 60 minutes in the same time span, which produces many more shows than you.
Yeah, there are weeks.
You have to be unbelievably proud of that.
We're very proud of our program. We really are. If you're counting, we've got over 24 Emmys now. We've got 3 Columbia DuPonts. We've got an Overseas Press Club. We've got a Peabody. We're very proud. These are awards that sports programs normally don't merit consideration for. But we have a wonderful group of people, and I always say we have the best audience in the world, because what we try to do is we try to match the intelligence of the audience. We try to give them something that's worth their time. If we're going to do long-form journalism, we're asking you to sit still for a certain period of time, and the fact that you're willing to do so, we think demands a certain degree of respect and intelligence, and we try to present that.
What is the process to get the shows on, to decide what topics you're going to discuss?
Total chaos, though. Total chaos. No, I mean, it really is. It's like everything else. Some things are years in the planning. Some things are months in the planning. Some things are, fire drill. Oh, my God, we've got a hole. This wasn't ready. What are we going to fill it with? So the reality is we only do 33 to 44 stories per year. So we view each of those entries as pretty precious, and it goes through a pretty arduous process before we greenlight it.
In your entire life, you have never, ever, ever seen your beloved Chicago Cubs in a World Series.
Never.
Is it about to happen?
I'd love to say yes, Michael. I really would. But as I told my wife after the Bartman incident,
right,
and she turned to me and she said, "You're still leading and you still have a game in hand," I said, "I've seen this movie. I know how this ends."
Right.
So this isn't the first time I've seen the Cubs have a great off-season and expectations high, only to come crashing down.
Do
to
you
reality.
believe, though? Now, I've seen a seismic change in Red Sox fans. They love being the fan base that just couldn't get it done. They don't have an identity anymore. Would you lose your identity if the Cubs won a World Series?
It's a good question. It's one I'd love to entertain. I mean, it really would.
Right.
Look, I've been there. I mean, the Cubs, to this day, the other team in New York to me is the Mutts. To this day. Because in '69, the Cubs had the best team in baseball.
Right.
The Cubs had the best team in baseball, and it fell apart. And I dropped out of baseball for 2-3 years because of that. I mean, I was scarred.
Really?
I was scarred. Yeah, really. So I've been down this road. I get it. I really do.
What's strange for me, growing up in New York, rooting for New York teams, Michael and I were at Game 3 of the Mets-Cubs series at Wrigley Field. Cubs lose. They're down 3-0. Essentially, the series is over.
Yeah.
And we walked out.
And they look bad doing it.
Well, absolutely. They're kicking the ball all over the place. I mean, plenty of reasons to boo, get on the team, blow a lead. And we were in the auxiliary press box, so we had to leave with the fans. And the fans weren't upset.
No.
They were happy to be at the ballpark, smiling, how are you? And I'm thinking to myself, this would be the greatest place in the world to play, because if I'm leaving Citi Field or Yankee Stadium, they're kicking garbage cans, they're cursing the team.
It makes you wonder if they'd have been a better ball club all these years if the fan base had higher expectations for them. Ozzie Guillen, remember he got in trouble a couple of years ago. He said, let's face it, Wrigley Field's nothing but a bar. Right? Mm-hmm. Actually, he wasn't terribly far off base. If the fans asked more of the team, then you might have gotten something better by this time. Of course, don't want to go all Ely on them.
Right. No, that's the opposite way.
The greatest thing of all time.
But is that just
the greatest?
Wonderful.
Yes.
Is that just acceptance, or is it because the ballpark's so great and they're just happy to be there? A lot of them grew up with it being mostly day baseball.
Neighborhood is unbelievable.
Yeah, neighborhood's unbelievable, and I mean, I grew up there in day games. I mean, I remember doing a show from there before the first night game. It was like, we're really going to play at night? And back then, as you'll recall, they had all kinds of excuses for why the Cubs couldn't win, because they got only used to playing in the day, and when they go on the road, the night games were so bizarre for them, like these guys couldn't be out past the sunshine.
I always thought that we should play in favor of the Cubs because it's the greatest night city in the world. So any visiting team was exhausted when they played in the morning.
You would think so.
Yeah.
You would think so. But, yeah, I mean, I go back to the days of Jack Quinlan when he used to call their games. But, look, I'd like to believe nothing but the best. And certainly the signings of Zobrist, Hayward, and Lackey, who had a charisma bypass. But despite that, I'll cheer him. Look, on paper, they're the best team right now in the National League, certainly, I think.
Yeah, they are. I think yesterday the numbers came out. They're the favorite to go to the World Series.
Hey.
Never a good thing.
It can't work. It can't work.
It might. It might.
It just can't.